and just check in my bike complete, like, and no one said a word. They just put it on, you know?
People were doing that for a long time, and like I was like, all right, I'll do it. Flew to Utah, get there, and my handlebars were fucking bent down, and there's a giant piece of my bars missing.
It was ground through.
It was ground through.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you took your bike. I thought your bike was boxed that time.
Yeah.
I was like,
No, it was. I think it was
like,
the first time I talked Keith into do it. You got to do it. It's the best. You can ride your bike from long term and just show up. And the first time he tries it, like I pick him up at the airport, and it was ground.
That was crazy.
What, did they drag it from the bottom?
Yeah.
It looked like it got stuck on a conveyor belt, and something just constantly wore away at the bars.
It was literally cut like a giant piece through.
Like a grinder wheel went through his handlebars forever. I think it got drug on one of the tugs. You know, like when a bag falls off, and those guys are ruthless. They just keep going. I think his bike was dragging them.
It was like if you took where the bar bends up, if you took a perfect slice out of it, but it was solid metal. So like it was like pushed in, you know, like ground.
It was cut clean too.
Yeah.
It was, man.
I was so bummed.
There's a photo of it in TransWorld BMX.
Yeah.
I saw it in real life, but I was like,
that's crazy. Yeah.
I remember when you used to go overseas, you could do it. Like, they're like, oh, take off your pegs and pedals, turn your bars sideways.
Yep.
So I showed
Dennis McCoy taught me
I
that.
showed up at LAX like that, and they're like, I think I was crazy. And they threw my bike into this giant like refrigerator box.
Yep.
Huge box. My bike was like bouncing around. I was so pissed.
I did that once where you fight. My biggest pet peeve is like checking a bike in, you know, and they bring out this big massive box, and I remember I want to make a big deal out of it, and so it was a box. Like I got in the box with the bike as I'm taping it up from the inside, and like I have a line of 30 people behind me just waiting, and I want to slow everyone down, just make it a big production. Just like if I want to pay for this bike, then I'm going to make everyone else here suffer over it, you know. And now the lady that was charging me for the bike is just totally, now she's helped me tape up the box, and she's inside the box with me, like
keep her in there real quick.
It was so ridiculous, you know, like that's my biggest pet peeve is checking in a bike on a plane, you know, for sure.
Hey, so we're here in the ride office, and Fuzzy happened to stop by today for a couple days, but we've had some plans change on us, so at least we got some time to sit and bullshit for a little bit. So
you swore.
Say hi to Fuzz.
You might want to edit that out. How you doing?
So Fuzzy, why did you originally come down here today?
Originally, I came down to ride sidehacks with Keith Mulligan and film for the Robin Big Show. Is that what it is?
Fantasy Factor.
Fantasy Factor. I don't even know, man.
You just hear.
I just heard that sidehacks were involved, and I've since I was a kid. When I was a kid growing up, you always saw pictures of the side hack photos, and I've always wanted to try it and never had that chance. So Keith invited me down, and I guess we just found out a half an hour ago it got canceled. So bummed right now, but I'm sure we'll get into trouble some other way.
You never got a chance to ride a side hack before?
I did once. There was one at a BMX race, and I remember getting on it, and I was pretty small, but it was just so awkward feeling. Like, how do they ride these things, you know? But it's just funny, you look at when BMX in its infancy, that was such a big part of it back then, you know, of BMX racing. Mm-hmm. Who got the bright idea to put a side hack on a BMX bike, you know? But it was big there for a while, for a few years it was huge. You know? So it's just something I always wanted to try out, and but it's not going to work out.
Well, maybe we'll pick it up tomorrow and we'll just do a little ride and then try to have some fun somewhere with it.
Yeah, that'd be cool,
get some photos
man.
or something done.
Yeah.
Who do you think would have taken who was in the original race? Just the show.
As far as I know, it was supposed to be Rob and Mira.
So Mira was going to do it too?
Yeah. Gray Boy and Truly Odd, Jim Bauer and Ben Ward from Odyssey, and then myself and Fuzzy in the other one.
Were you guys claiming victory?
Oh, heck yeah.
I think so.
You guys were claiming a bar spin, weren't you?
Yeah. I was like, Keith, can you bar spin?
Such a bad idea.
Keith doing a bar spin and me doing a Superman as the monkey.
That would have been by accident. like you would hold it on. Just
I've jumped one a couple times up at Woodward West on the Resi, and they're completely unpredictable and really difficult to jump.
Yeah.
I was hoping we'd have some time to mess around on and figure it out. And
right.
I think it'd be pretty awesome to do two people doing different variations for a photo on a side hack.
Oh man.
So maybe if we get to ride one while you're here, we can play around with that a little bit.
It's kind of like remember in the old days, the three-wheelers, when Honda made the three-wheelers, and then they found out, oh, these things are dangerous, man. Like, we got too many lawsuits or whatever. It's like, that awkward. Like, even worse, because, like, the wheels are set back, you know, or whatever. So, but anyway, that's what I came down for. We've had a lot of rain, and it's just gorgeous. Everything's green as can be, and, you know, I just met up with Mikey, actually in Vegas, like, last week. Haven't seen Mikey in a while. Got to catch up with him, and he's doing great. You know, and next week when I get back to Utah, you know, go see Mike and hang out with him a little bit, and that's really about it. I'm just team managing and for Redline and building the courses for the Dew Tour, and that takes up a lot of my time. But you know, just being a dad also.
How old's your son now?
My son he's currently 8 years old, and he's just stoked on BMX and trying to find out a way. You know, we're building a few little small trails in the backyard, stuff like that. I'm in the process, hopefully have the house sold this week, we'll see, you know, but I don't want to put a lot of time into my backyard knowing I'm going to move, and so we're just crossing our fingers we do that, because I really want to get going on a new yard, and, you know, being at TJ's house last week, but, you know, just like, that's such a big piece of what I love, you know, just going out and digging in your backyard and doing your, you know, and seeing TJ's yard last week it's just insane. It's the best it's ever been, you know, so, you know, but he's got a lot of people helping out, that's for sure.
Your son was out there in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Out there ride. What's it like, you know, having him around to ride with and stuff, or watching him ride?
Having my son in Vegas last week, it was just insane. It's like we packed up. We did. I kind of did like the TEM family thing, load up the family, and we got a room in the hotel down there, and like let the family stay there while I rode TJ's. But packing my son's bike up in the back of the car for the first time was like, it was weird, you know, just seeing this little 16-inch BMX bike in the back, and his first road trip, and he did awesome, you know, and so, and I don't think he realized how big the jumps are. Like, yeah, we're gonna go ride TJ's, you know, and like, oh, cool, Dad, I'll ride with you, you know, and like, I think he got the hint, you know, we showed up like, this isn't something you're gonna be riding, son, you know, and so, but we found something in there like where he could, you know, he could just float through a lot of the big jumps, and like they had like a little pump track that he could follow, and he wouldn't stop doing it, you know, so that's what I want to do, you know, like, you know, get a new piece of land and build something for him right now, because it's, you know, it's just so fun riding with your son, you know, it's a cool deal.
What's his like interest level in it? Does he like really want to get into it and get good, or does he just kind of do it?
No, I think his interest level is like you know, some 8-year-olds, whether it's motocross or BMX, like they're die hard, like that's all they're gonna do, and like you get the dads that just start, you know, we're gonna go to every race, or we're gonna go to every event, and I even see that, you know, like even in dirt jumping right now, there's dads out there like that are pretty gnarly, you know, like they treat it like my son's gonna make a lot of money at this one day, and I think they've got the wrong impression there, you know. And it's
football
like
dads. Yeah,
the football dads, and I would never do that with my son. And it's not that I don't want him to repeat my life. I mean, if that's what he wants to do, I've got his back 100%, you know. But I'm totally content with him, you know, being a chess star or whatever. Like, you know, he's just a smart little whiz kid, you know, and loves BMX. He's definitely got the skills, you know. I look at the photos of him riding, you know, I can definitely see that he has skills there, and you know, maybe one day he'll be doing photo shoots with you guys. That's unbelievable to even think about that, you know. And so, but the 200.
He's like 55, just like, oh god, my back hurts.
Oh man,
can you set up this flash for me here, baby fuzzy?
Mason, can you do that again?
Again?
10 more times.
See, the kids again, they're so spoiled. They got digital photography, you know. It's like once you got the shot, you got the shot, huh? It isn't like it used to be where you'd wait. You know, I remember the days waiting for a week. Keith, did the photos turn out? And it was just such a mysterious thing to wait for these photos, you know, and like to think that, you know, even if my son did a photo shoot maybe 10 years from now, like you don't have to, what'll be then? How could it be any quicker? You know, how do you streamline
video
photos?
Cameras, you just take a still from, and just film them.
Yeah, now you could be, just film it.
You're just gonna freeze frame somewhere in a you know, in video, and that's the photo. And it's instantly everywhere.
It's like, how can we make our jobs, you know, to where we can be lazier? You know, it's like, I don't know. It's
What about your daughter Maddie? Is she into bikes at all?
My daughter, she's definitely insane crazy. Like I could see her being more into it than my son, you know. So she's just so anything that has to do that gets her adrenaline going, she's totally down for, you know. And so she's got Mason's leftover bike right now. Like it's a little. We build up at 50/50. It's a little 16-inch that we had to like modify the headset on and the neck and all that, you know, for it to accommodate her, you know. But she's already grown out of that, so we're looking for a new bike for Maddie right now, and we're gonna get her something cool.
Nice.
What's new in the redline world?
New in the redline world right now, I'm just still in shock over Big Josh Holt, you know, from last weekend, and Brandon Dosh, and Hucker too, man. I keep giving Hucker a hard time right now because, you know, we had Josh won, and then Dosh was second, and the only thing missing was like Hucker in third or whatever, you know. And he wrecked in prelims or whatever, like he always does, you know. Hucker's one of those riders that he's either gonna win or totally take dead last, which I love that about him, you know. And so I think he takes it serious that, you know, I'm the team manager and he didn't cut it, you know, whatever. And I'm nothing like that, you know. There's no pressure there at all, and when our guys do good, it's awesome. It's like, you know, walking through the hotel lobby and everyone's like, God, Redline did great this weekend. It's like me doing good again at a contest or something like that. It's hard to explain, but, you know.
Just proud of it.
Just so proud of it, you know, and it's like, I got that same feeling of me doing good at a contest, only, you know, minus all the scabbed up elbows for me, you know, or whatever. It's like, it's kind of.
It seemed like Josh has been around forever, and it just, I mean, he's always been. I remember like being on a trip to Idaho or something like that, and seeing him like 8 years ago, and he was always amazing. But it just seemed.
He this year's been interesting for Josh. Through the winter, I was like dealing with it. He's always been that rider. Like, I basically picked him up to be my bodyguard. You know, like I never thought he could win a Dew Tour. You know, he's just such a big dude, and I was like, man, this guy will be great. Then I can talk all my smack and just have him back it up. And just like he just basically lost his job this year, and he called me and 2 weeks before the Dew Tour, and he's like, hey, is there any way Bestwick invited me out to Woodward East to go ride with him? And I was like, sure, you know, and it was like an extra $250 for the flight, and it was cool. I just, no questions asked, just sent him out. And without that, you know, he would have been doing that, you know, 360 bar to tell it, you know, like that's what won him that contest, and it cost us like an extra $200. I mean, that's just a no-brainer as a team manager to do that for him. And he just seems, you know, now that he's lost his job, he's just all he's about right now is his bike, and he just loves riding his bike, and he's getting his own style going. He's always been pretty like, his style hasn't always been like, you know, a Mike Aiken or anything like that, but you know, this year right now, the way he's riding, you can tell he's really like, he's just he's way more natural on his bike than he's ever been, and I think that's cool.
A lot more time on the bike.
A lot more, you know. He's not that he treats it like a job at all. It's just like, I think he knows that he has this 1 year like where he doesn't have a job, and he's going to take advantage of it, and that's what he's doing. Like, I guarantee we call him right now, he's probably riding right now, you know, like 12 hours a day he's riding, I bet, you know. So it's just cool to see it pay off for him.
Nice. What about you? You've been riding up a lot?
All I ride is dirt anymore. I'm not into concrete. I'm not into, you know, any. I just that's all I want to ride, you know. And you know, like TJ's this year. Like I took some time off this winter and snowmobiled a lot. You know, crazy big drops on snowmobiles and just redneck stuff. And I got addicted to it, you know. And so showing up at TJ's the first time I really rode dirt, probably in like 2 months, you know. So it was scary, and it's just like, and I told TJ that, I was like, man, if I took a year off riding your yard, I don't think I could do it. You know, it's like his yard is so scary, you know, and so I always have to make it a point to get down to TJ's at least once a year. Like, the year I can't ride TJ's is pretty much the day I quit, I think, you know. So.
Do you see your riding like slowing down, or are you just getting more interested in doing other stuff and having fun?
No, I don't think, you know, I'm definitely not progressing like like a young rider, or like, you know, Josh Holt or Brandon Dosh. Those guys just like, they ride to learn new stuff and I've been there and done that, and I don't think I've lost, you know. I could definitely like ride anything I want. It just, maybe it won't be as smooth right now or whatever, I guess, but I don't feel like I'm slowing down in any way whatsoever, you know. It's where I'm scared of riding, you know, anything.
It's just like more difficult without having like a dialed setup in your backyard like you used to?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I look at the yard. I haven't had it in 2 years now, and so it makes me wonder what I'd be doing. Like, I haven't backflipped forever since Stephen Murray's wreck. I think that was a big mental thing that night. You know, I was there with Stephen, and I was like, I'll never do that trick again, you know. But I was at TJ's, and he had the resin mat set up there, and it's just like, oh, I'm doing it, you know. And like, you forget how fun that stuff is. And then I've just had a rough time, you know, with Murray's wreck, and then, you know, what Mikey's been through. It's been a pretty disturbing year for me, like, in a lot of ways, to where I've taken, I don't know, you look at like dirt, and it's always been so fun, and now we're talking like it can kill you, you know, like how did that happen? What what changed, you know? And so, and I look at being a TM now with the riders, I get scared watching my guys ride, you know. It's like, it's almost become to the point where every rider's so good and it's become to the point now where it's how a rider handles his injuries more than learning a new trick. You know, it's how a rider handles his injuries during, you know, when he wrecks more so than riding the bike almost. You know, and it's just like seems out of proportion right now, like the way stuff is. You know, so I just want to ride and just, you know, I don't want to worry about going out and doing some crazy trick or, you know, I just like to go to trails and do tabletops. That's it.
When kind of off kilter question, but when you look back, like what time period is your like golden days or your dark days when you look back?
Like as far as contests go, or like
just bike riding in general, or even good time, you know, just
yeah. I would say like my golden days, or my funnest times on my bike was the Roy Yard. You know, like that was you know, all my trails were just getting torn down all the time, and I was like, I'm gonna save enough money. You know, like I've never really made a lot of money riding a bike, but I saved up every cent, bought that house in Roy and the land, and I finally had my piece of land to do whatever I want on without anyone telling me what to do, and you know, it was just cool. And you know, Keith even back in the day flew out just for that, and I really didn't know what I had there until Keith did an article in Snap, and I saw the photos for the first time. You know, and I actually had to wait for the photos. You couldn't see them online. You could, you know, like it was just, and when it came out, it was just like, wow, this is cool, you know. And so I think that was like just I remember those days, like barbecuing in the yard and having everyone over and everyone picking up a shovel and helping build. I mean, that was definitely like some of the best times ever. And I was competing a lot, and I remember like me and Nyquist were like head to head that year, and like because I like competing too, you know, I like that. And I remember he got me by like 10 points or something at the end of the year, and I was so bummed out on that, you know, because I'd love to rub it into Nyquist that I beat him, you know, that year on the time, but he got me, you know. So, but that was some of the funnest times between that and just having that backyard and having everyone over all the time was a good time.
I just think of like some of the photo shoots we did there, and they were always a blast. Like,
oh man,
you know, one time you were wearing a devil mask and had a pitchfork, and we lit the jumps on fire, and like shooting that for a table of contents on Ride. And
I remember, and Keith was so, you know, he was an animal, like, go Fuzz, keep going, go. And I was doing laps back and forth with a pitchfork in my hand with a mask on, you know, and fire. And it was so hot, like the heat was coming off, the whole landing was on fire, and like we could hear fire trucks. It wasn't
That's
coming
why I was
around.
telling you to go.
I was just like
fire engines like coming down the road.
It was, and who was it? Chris Hargraves, right? Like, is that who was with you? Yeah, at the time, and that was just some of the, you know, being able to set up a photo session like that where you had control over it, you could do stuff like that and not worry about it, was just, that was so fun. There was always someone constantly coming through, and like during that time no one came to Utah, you know. It's just like it was an excuse to bring people to Utah in a lot of ways. I didn't know that at the time, but you know, I think it definitely helped build the scene. You know, like there's footage of Mike Aiken there when he's 14.
I was gonna say that.
You know, plowing in the back of I think Utah Ryan's truck. I had Utah Ryan's truck parked there, and like I always remember that footage. And someone sold that footage to like, what are those reality shows? They're like, look at this young kid wrecking into the back of a truck. It was Mikey, you know. And I remember going through late night TV, going, wow, man, BMX is on TV, you know. It was cool.
So that was the first time I saw footage of Mikey was in that props. It was in the yard.
Yeah, and I think he rode for what was it? Hammer or no? What was the name of that? Bully.
Bully.
Back in the day, yeah.
He had like 4-piece bars, I think. In his maybe.
No footer X up.
Yeah. And that's you always see that young kid that you know he's going to go a long ways. It's just interesting. Hucker being one of them. You know, the first time I met Hucker like 5 years ago, and Bar Spinner comes up. He goes, you gotta like get this kid hooked up, you know, or whatever. And I was like, whatever, you know. And now I really heard the story about him doing double backflips out in the field all by himself. And now that I know Hucker, like he's one of those riders that he's going to be around, you know. Like he's definitely got skills. He's one of the best riders. He's like Mikey to me. Like Hucker will be one of those riders, I think, you know. You know, the first half hour at Posh, he was 3 in, you know, the set that Mikey wrecked. The first half hour, in board shorts, he's 3 in that set that Mikey wrecked on it. I'm scared, it's a 250 set, I'm just scared to jump it straight every time. You're just like, oh my God. You know, so he's one of those riders, like, I think once he figures out, you know, he's not dialed like Mikey or anything, like, by any means yet, you know, but he's definitely got a lot of skill. Like, you know, if he can stay away from getting hurt and all that, then he'll go a long way.
Speaking of old photo shoots and photos, I guess for anyone who hasn't been getting the magazine for a while, Fuzzy was actually on the very first issue of Ride, premiere issue back in October, November of '92, and then also, you know, for the 100th issue, Mark Losey went to his house in Utah and reshot the same trick for the 100th issue cover. So you know, just wanted to hear some of your thoughts on those covers and those photo shoots, and you know what you thought of doing that stuff.
The story behind the first cover ride, it's so crazy. Like, again, this is back, I think I made $200 a month, you know. I mean, just gas money alone to get to Southern California from Utah was so much. I'm like, but Brad McDonald called me. He's like, I want, you know, if you can get down here, I'll pretty much give you a cover shot, you know. Like, this is when Brad was doing stuff out of this hot apartment. It was like gross as can be hot, you know, in Riverside, I think. Is that right? I think Riverside, like, somewhere around there. You know? Yep. And I'm like, and my girlfriend at the time, well, you know, now my wife, you know, and like we kind of made a road trip out of it, and we drove all night that night, showed up to Brad's apartment that day, and it got really hot that day, and just like, I remember how gross it was. And this is one of my favorite places to ride at the time, like it's Twin Palms, and you know, that's pretty much where a lot of guys rode, and like it was convenient for Brad to shoot there, so we decided to go there that day and shoot it. I rode all day, and it was probably shot around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I think, even though it looks dark. I don't know how they did that, but
October or something.
Yeah, you know, and I just remember being so tired, you know, and like this trick, I was like, man, I don't even have anything like that's respectable for a cover. And so I remember driving that whole night, you know, and like Terry was with me, and I was just thinking about this trick, and well, how would that be? And she goes, that'd be cool, you should try that. And I was like, well, what if I get stuck in an X-up? Like, you know, like I don't know why I was thinking like you just get stuck, you know, but like Brad thought it was cool, and I tried it, and it worked, like semi-worked the first time, and then I just got the trick wired that day, you know, and like he goes, well, we'll shoot it later. That, you know, we shot it later, like around 4, and I just remember like, you know, like I go, that'd be cool if that magazine took off, you know, and I got the first cover, you know, like I didn't think, no, I never thought like it would be the way it is today, you know, and so it's just one of those cool things, like at the right place at the right time, you know, and it just I think as a rider, like that's, you know, like that's half the, you know, not the battle, or like just showing up at the right place, or being at the right place at the right time for something that cool. But to me, this is like, it means everything for me. Like it's the biggest thing I've ever done, you know. And it's just like all that was a phone call away and a 12-hour drive, you know. And it wasn't like I was the best rider or anything like that. It's just like Brad called and I was down to do it, and it, you know, it's something that definitely like time marked me. You know, I love that about it, you know. And so, you know, 100 issues go by or whatever, and I get a call like, you know, 10 years later, or I don't know how many years later, or whatever the difference, like, and Losi says, we want to shoot you for the 100th issue. And this is a time when my career was like, you know, who wants to shoot this washed up BMX or whatever? And I was like, I was so down to do it. And so, you know, like during that time, like now, like the tricks are so big, you know, double truck drivers and all this stuff, and like, so I didn't really think about the trick, you know, I just figured I'd have that trick. I haven't done that trick probably since, you know, or whatever. I mean, a few times here and there, but like, so Losi's ready to shoot it, and I remember Dan Piesheimer, he came out the yard, he helped me build the jump for it, you know, and Losi came out that evening and we shot it. And this is now, again, when digital photography is back, you know, like this was all done on film. And so so I actually started riding with Losi. I was like, oh my God, I can't remember how to do the trick. Like, I seriously couldn't. So I ran back in the house to look, was it this way or that way? And then I had to run back in the house, look at the photo, and said, oh, it's this way. So, and Losi goes, all right, you ready to shoot? And so, yep, we go out and we shoot it, do it the very first time, you know, and I land, I go, did you get it, Losi? He goes, yeah, and I go, cool, can I see it? And he goes, yeah, we're done. It was done, the very first shot. I was like, no way. Because this took all day. This took 2 seconds to shoot this, you know, and so interesting, like, the, you know, the contrast between the two covers, like how, you know, photography's changed so much, you know, so it definitely made it easy. But, and again, it's just another piece to this piece that just worked out great for me, you know, and you know, who knows, maybe one day my son will have like, what, the 200th issue of Ride or something.
You know, one funny thing about that cover is when Losi went out and shot that photo, and we had that idea, or Losi had the idea, and we already had the photo like for like 3 weeks, and we were like in there, and then Rooftop like was like, you know what you guys should do? You guys should go shoot Fuzzy doing the same trick again and put it on the cover of the 100th issue. And I'm like, it's a really good idea, man. So, and I was like, and like he like he totally called it out, and then when it came out, he was like, you guys stole my idea, and I was like, no, it was like we had it beforehand, and it was really good, but I couldn't say that we already did it. No, like, oh, man.
So Rooftop said that though.
Yeah, he was like, you guys should do that for the 100th issue, and I was like, was like,
Wow.
yeah, that's a real, like, try to play it down like, nah, it's not, yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
I was like,
I got
Because you don't want to say who's on the cover and like spoil anything.
Yeah.
So.
It was just like Rooftop was on it, you know. It was like he had the idea, like not even. I mean, we're obviously brainstorming stuff all the time, and he just out of the blue was like.
Yeah, that's what I want to know on your guys' side. Like, you know, when you do that, it's such a tribute to a rider. Anything, you know, like something like that. Like when you guys were having that meeting, like what you're saying, Fudge, like it's just cool that you roll with it, you know. And I was just so excited because I hadn't done a photo shoot in a while. You know, it's just so cool to get a call from Losi saying, "Hey, we want to set that up," you know. And it's just like a tribute to me for that. Like, and it was just so cool. It was such a great deal for me, you know. So, but yeah. Anyway, that's the story behind it. And I just remember, like, you know, I couldn't wait for this thing to come out. You know, it's so funny. It's just such it's one step above like a zine, you know, like back then, and it's just grown so much, and it's just so cool to see how it's still around and still doing great. I love it.
I mean, you're a big fan of magazines, and you know, especially, you know, obviously BMX magazines. You've been in probably every magazine that's been out in BMX for the most part. And you know, what do you think of how magazines are today and how Ride is? And you know,
I love the new, you know, like you go from like, you know, just the new format that you guys have. It's just so personal now. Like it's just like it's got such an atmosphere behind it, you know, and it's just. It's so in detail with the riders, and there's so much quality in the photos and all that. It just seems like, you know, you look back at the days of, I don't know, it's just come a long way, the quality and how much time you guys put into it. And I don't get how you guys travel so much to make all this work. It's just insane. And props go out to you guys, because I know, I always sit there and say, like, the people that work the hardest in the industry are you guys, like the photographers and the editors and all that. There's just so much involved with it, you know, that, you know, it's kind of like when I build dirt jumps and a rider just shows up to ride them. They don't see what goes on behind the scenes, and it's backbreaking work, and like what you go through to get it there for a rider to enjoy it. And the same as a magazine, to get it here for someone to enjoy it, is there's just so much time and energy involved behind it. So props go out to you guys for sure. You know, I definitely, you know, and as a rider, you just expect it to be good, you know, and so, and anticipate a good magazine every month, and I know there's a lot of work behind it.